might mean represent aspiration for you? What's a meaning, a word, a set of words, maybe an image, some form that might represent aspiration for you? And Sharon, in this short, very short chapter, talks a lot about what aspiration means for her. But really, for me, and I think for our Sangha, aspiration is a way of living, ultimately. It represents a way of living, which is why I loved it as the last chapter for real life. Real life is one that is threaded, I think was one of the words that Sharon used. Woven might be another word. Sutured together by some common qualities. And the wish, maybe, to continue in one's lifetime, maybe, I actually mean this. I was just hesitating as I was getting ready to say it. Unconditionally, pursued unconditionally. And I hesitated because I don't think that speaks to the result of the aspiration, that we aspire unconditionally is right, that we accomplish or have mastered or unconditionally. Well, maybe by the very aspiration. Maybe the aspiration, as it is understood in the Eightfold Path, is the beginning of everything. And then maybe without it, there's no possibility, right? If you don't have that, this wish for kindness, this wish for patience, this wish for love, and not to be receiving it, but to be living it, how then could we accomplish it, really? Because it is going to take at least, so says the Eightfold Path, then, it's going to take at least aspiration. And without it, there's, again, that it would occur would be happenstance or circumstance or lucky, or you fell on it, or but that's really not our practice. Our practice is with intention, right? On purpose, in the present moment, right? That is actually part of the definition of mindfulness, by the way. Intentioned, on purpose, in the present moment. And then the question we're always asking all the time, how do I choose to live that? How do I choose to live that? And bringing some kind of inquiry, at least, to that. And then if Renee is here, Renee would say bringing the pause to that, bringing one's presence to that. Somebody might say bringing one's whole heart, right? Or awakened heart mind. These would be all ways of saying, like, show up wholly, right? Show up wholly. And then whatever comes, I think we're pretty clear now. I hope so. Whatever comes from that is more right than it would be otherwise, by your very presence in it. Just like, I don't even know, but I'm going to fully arrive, would be some kind of auspicious accomplishment and way of living in this life, right? So I've asked the question. You guys can go ahead and put it in chat if you like, as you think about the word aspiration, as you think about how to live it, as you think about when, I'll talk about that in a minute too, but what words come to mind for you? If I were just going to say the word aspiration, what else comes to mind? And let's start there. Hope, says Joyce. Yes, of course. Wouldn't it be? What else? Desire, longing, road, yeah, path, yep, dream. Desire, longing. There is such a thing, by the way. Some people can misunderstand, can't they, this concept of desire as bad thing, as craving. Actually, it's not only the only way the word is used. Desire and longing is also, there's a whole aspect of aspiration that requires, they say, wholesome desire. Isn't that lovely? Wholesome desire, which means towards the good of all beings. That desire, that longing, that will, that heart, very different than the craving, hungry, thirsty, grabbing, grasping concept of desire, right? Isn't that lovely? You don't have to get rid of that. The reason we're breathing is to some extent virtue of desire. You chose in some way to get to this day and to keep drinking and putting your pants on and doing, right? There's some will and desire in that. And there is the understanding that not all desire. And in fact, you hear many beautiful teachers, the Dalai Lama and Thich Nhat Hanh being just two, saying with all the love in your heart, with all the energy you can muster, that's that wholesome, right? Live this life. Here's some other words. Guide, says Renee. Wish. Yes, another very consistent, I think, in some way with dream, right? A vision, a possibility, we would say, right? Like, and I think of that every day. Like, well, that wasn't one of them, but I don't lose the wish ever. I don't lose the guide. I don't lose the desire. I don't lose the dream. I don't lose the hope for it. And so can you feel it? These words all apply then, don't they? Because even in the mistake, even in the getting it wrong, even in the, I would say, quitting the practice, going the other way, as Joko says, playing tennis instead, that's not necessarily, and even for me in my years of abandoning myself, I thought I was abandoning the practice. How silly is that? I actually was abandoning myself. In those moments when I had abandoned myself, something stayed alive. And I know that's true for you guys too, because you're here. You're actually here. And what I know is being here is harder. It just plain old is. There's no getting around it. You had to get up, you had to set the intention, you had to set your alarms, you had to put your clothes on, at least some of them, right? And you had to make a decision about that. That's led by this thing we call aspiration. You had to have it because it would be easier not to be here, just simply, wouldn't it? And in fact, whether you're on vacation or you're not on vacation or you're here, the being here that I'm talking about really isn't Zoom, is it then? It's not being here, Zoom, it's being here. This real life, my real life, in myself, knowing something about how I am. This is the truth of aspiration. I want to say one more thing and then we'll practice and then look at the chapter. It's very short. But she talks about in a Seder, at the end of a Seder, there are some words, also aspiration, filled words. And the words were next year, I think it was. Wasn't it next year in Jerusalem? Next year in Jerusalem. Yeah, thanks, Victor.
Yeah.
Jerusalem, she already said, isn't a place. I would say it's a quality. Wouldn't you? It's a quality. It's no location. It isn't even the location of the heart. It's a quality of heart mind that we're picking over and over and over and over again to equal aspiration. So next year in Jerusalem, next year as I arrive home, and I want us to change that beautiful Jewish tradition to next breath. How about that? Next breath, may I arrive home. Right? I'm taking this as thumbs up as a good news from someone who I know honors and has the Jewish tradition. Next breath, can I arrive home? Next breath, can I fully, completely get here? Just this one right now. And then the aspiration has to be enlivened in this one, doesn't it, for the next? You can't wait till the next. Actually, does anybody know what? You cannot wait till the next breath. You have to set intention and aspiration in this breath for you're living it now and setting it alive again, present again, loving now, right now. And in fact, Tibetans, which is the part I love about their teachings, they say that is the way we begin the world. We begin life, and that's the way we end it. By setting the aspiration, not only for the last breath, but the very next moment. You get what I'm saying? No more breath now, but the next moment called death. And then the next moment called the bardo. And the next moment called reappearance, right? Whatever that might look like. You get what I'm saying? So how do we set it? How do we live it and then set it? And they say that you cannot set the aspiration without the wisdom, the love, and the compassion of the present moment. That's why you have to get here, and you can't wait till the next. You have to, from right here, the wisdom, the compassion, the love is here, and you need it in order to arrive to this very next breath fully. And that without that, could we imagine, and I know this for myself, the level of distraction, right? The level of default now operating. Can you make, right? With no intention, just, here I am. Here I am. How difficult it would be. Then we'd already have to have set the course. Some of you have skied, and when you're standing at the top, you look down, and there's even a path that looks available somewhat, right? You don't know for sure because you're not fully there. It's like climbing a mountain as well, right? They say you establish the path, you just haven't climbed it yet. And I believe that's what aspiration ultimately, you set the path towards kindness, goodness, peace, ease, love. And then you live it in this one. Get the idea? Does that make sense? Victor and Greg, I'm going to look at you both because you're both on before we practice and see if there's anything you might have to add.
I guess it takes some effort. It's
Greg, I can't hear you. You're muted probably. Let me see if I can. Now you can try. Let me see. There you go.
I think I'm there. Am I there?
You're there.
Hey, I'm here.
Yeah, and here.
Wow. No, I think it takes some efforting. And so because we're kind of going, I just feel it sometimes I'm going against the grain, just there I am kind of zoned out. And so I have to take some effort really to be present.
Yeah.
But it's worth the effort. That's what I would say.
I would say it with you. once again on the Eightfold Path, which she goes into after this chapter, I think a little, we know that I like to call it joyous effort. Somebody, one of the teachers I like calls it effortless effort. I don't know if that's true. I haven't arrived at that yet. Effortless effort, but I do get the idea of joyful effort. I do. Like I'm picking this with joy, with love, with commitment, with, and what a privilege that I get to pick it. I think that's also part of that joy. You get to pick, we have the right and the privilege to pick it. This is big. We're the only species that we know here so far that actually has that capacity. The only one, not consciousness as a capacity, but this aspiration and intention that I can consider in this moment how to live the next is likely the privilege of this human sentient endeavor, and that we are gifted that. And then we notice that many of us, and I notice in myself, don't always use it. Don't always use it. And sometimes even when I'm using it, I have not realized what I know is possible. And that's okay too, right? Sometimes I have the intention, nope, that didn't happen. It doesn't mean the intention's wrong. It means I don't have the other muscles quite yet, right? By virtue of my default, my own fears, my own reactivity, my own habits. I fall over in the skis, right? That's okay. You just get up again and start again. This is a part of the path. And we have the privilege of that to go, okay, I saw, I noticed, I recognize, I understand what happened that I just fell back into the default. I saw me go to sleep, or I even took the drug called caramel corn or TV or too busy. I got caught in my drug. In my addictive device, and so couldn't see clearly the way in that moment, right? So this is the good news. I want to read, so we're going to, every breath, this breath, next breath, every breath, this breath, next breath. That's it, the path. Every breath, this breath, next breath. Here's some of the words she uses. Next year in Jerusalem means to me, next year we will be in our home. And I would just say home, right? And that home will be a world without fear, a world without hunger, a world without poverty and rot. Next year we'll be in a world that is caring and supportive of its inhabitants, and a world where its inhabitants are caring and supportive of the world. Next year, we will look to our great minds, and I hope our hearts as well, for leadership and eschew loudmouth fools. My guess is she has a perspective there. Next year, we will remember the lessons of kindness from our youth. That means the kindness we already know. Next year, we will aspire to live our possibilities. Next year, we will be grateful for the gift of life we've been given. Next year, we will achieve our goals and share our bounty with family, friends, and neighbors. Next year, the word stranger will be meaningless because next year, we will all be together in our home. So next year, next breath, beginning with this breath. And so let's sit together. Falling a little off my chair, so I'm going to take a moment. I apologize. So establishing your sitting posture, and set the posture that embodies your greatest heart's, awakened heart mind's aspiration. And I had to sit back a little just when I had that thought. The forward sit for me often represents trying to get to something else. Another moment, another life, another idea, but the practice, this breath, is right here. And this is the aspiration and intention setting moment, this moment. And so, whether it's hope or peace, love, compassion, patience, trust, letting go, letting be, non judgment, non reactivity, awakening, enlightenment, peace. We bring in the image, the word, and just breathe it a few times. And there's no one word, right? There's all the words that represent the same boundless heart, like those infinite words for God, all the one thing. The one beingness. And so there are two things I'd like you to make contact with here. And they are the pervading stillness, silence, vast open space. It's everywhere in everything. And you. And the second thing is the abiding, ever present awareness in you. And then the contact with every breath, beginning this breath. The every breath is the aspiration. This breath is the embodiment. Can you feel the energy of your whole heart, mind, being? To be awake here now. We become friendly, up close, and intimate with the breath. And whatever the aspiration, whatever the image, the form, the word, make contact with its aliveness right now. What is its texture? What is its qualities? And we can know this by the breath. The breath has so much to tell us. That shaky breath, that quick breath, that long, peaceful breath has so much to tell us. We can call the specific language of the aspiration to mind each breath. Love, ease, forgiveness, peace. We use the in breath, in spirit, inspired to activate, the fuel to ingest. energized. Awaken. Good at the beginning. And we keep the aspiration alive for the whole of the breath, the whole of the in-breath, inspired, energized, alive. And in the out breath, we rest in its refuge. We gather the wisdom, the merits, the love, the compassion, the fruit. The harvest. And at the end of the out breath, they're directly in the stillness, in the no form, in the no thing. We intention and aspire again. The infinite comes. The sacred gap. The bardo, the open space. Informed now by you. Set the path. Every breath, this breath. Already arriving, already here, just by the aspiration itself. Already taking form and shape, already filled with goodness. Love, peace, ease, freedom, happiness. And we place the whole heart mind there. Here. And we breathe it in. And we embody it and we make it live. And we live it. This breath. And we rest on the out breath in its goodness. And prepare ourselves for that vast, boundless, open space. Already, the table, the feast is already set. Lacking now only this, your arrival. So in each breath, we set the compass, the true north, the guiding pole, the golden thread, born alive and lived then every breath, this breath. And this breath is the next. To recognize the truths of suffering and the path to its end. To do so with love, wisdom, compassion, with peace and freedom, wholeheartedly awakened. You fill in the blank. And how is the aspiration enlivened in this very breath? By this very mind. embraced by this very heart, held and lived by this very body. And in this very breath, we set the feast, we set the table for the next. And so at the end of the breath, we rest. Before embodying, enlivening, living, and aspiring this breath. And wherever we place the mind, this becomes the world. This becomes the path. The practice, the possibility. Filled with your aspiration, whatever's here. You animate this aspiration. You, this one drop, this one cell in this 8 billion and growing cells. And you change the color of the whole of the world. One drop. One aspiration. One breath. And then that aspiration is alive through you, right here at the beginning, in the in-breath. Right here at the end of the out-breath. Right here in the pause, in every breath, in all things. Holy you. And may we all be filled with our most wholehearted aspiration. May we know it by sound and word. May we know it by felt sense. May we know it by heart. And may we live it every breath. This breath. This again and again, forever again. So be it. Robin said something interesting, which is, and it continually changes. As we enjoy the path, like in skiing, it suddenly changes and you choose another path. Yes, the path changes, but the aspiration does not. The aspiration is beyond conditions. It's beyond the trees, it's beyond the depth of the snow, it's beyond, it is held unconditionally. Kindness, for example, it may take many forms. So I think that's what you might mean, Robin. The form of kindness may be infinite and varied, and so it may look different, but the path itself is the aspiration first. And that is
Yes.
yeah, it's that has its we call it unchanging or unconditioned nature. Doesn't mean it doesn't look different either. That's not what I mean by unchanging, right? I mean it's wholeheartedness, it's complete, it's now and now and now is unaltered. It is consistent, and it's many infinite forms. No one way, right, to live kindness. No one way to love. No one way. So in this way, that is varied over and over and over and over and over. Thank goodness, because we probably wouldn't do well if we just had to do that one thing, that one way forever. And the aspiration is the permanence. The aspiration is the thread that keeps that momentum, that keeps the vision, that holds it forever. So can you see the many levels of truth there? The aspiration is understood to be unconditional, applicable, livable, breathable every moment. And not the same, doesn't look quite the same. It's the same love. And yeah, love like this moment, taking this form. And so that's a very nice distinction there. Thank you. And Dennis, what's the aspiration? I was late in joining. The aspiration, Dennis, is that which is most alive, most vital, most true in you. And not only for this moment, but for every moment and for every breath. And we just talked about it lives differently, it breathes differently, and none of that's the problem at all. But there is an unwavering quality to it as well. Sometimes we call those things vows, don't we? Promise, right? Like forever, like this. And that's why we make them so rarely, don't we? We make them so rarely because, like, you're signing up in a vow, aren't you? You sign up in a promise. You sign up. You're going, not just because I feel like it today, not just because it's Wednesday and it's good news, but every day, every moment, every breath. And as we just said with Robin, in its unique form. How is it alive now? And so I want you to think about that. I'd like you to come up with a word or a set of words that you're going to be writing and that we're going to be keeping a little bit of track of as we practice this summer for what is it that you're committing to? What's your vow? What's your prayer? What are you showing up with as often as you can every breath, even the ones you don't like, even the ones that are hard, even the ones you just were too tired and you didn't feel like it. And I want you to write it somewhere. And then I want you to call it every day. Every day you call out that word or that set of words or that phrase or that poem, whatever comes to embody that, right? To help envision that for you. And then we're going to see all the infinite ways. That's the part that Robin was identifying, the infinite ways that is alive. And that's correct, the infinite ways that we have to live that out. Everybody get the idea? Does anybody have a word they want to share?
I'm not sure this is the right word, but the word that comes to mind is understanding with kindness. so that you're
We
not
could
just
call that
taking your own
wisdom.
side.
I would say that
Wisdom.
wisdom, certain kind of wisdom, clear seeing, with the whole heart is what we understand wisdom to be. Wisdom is not just clear seeing.
Yeah, wisdom.
It's got to have all of your whole goodness, your wholeheartedness in it. And that's part of what makes it wise. Great. Great. You're going to call that out every day. You're going to call it to mind. You're going to write it somewhere. And then you're going to look on purpose with the intention for seeing it in its manifest infinite forms. Where is it? Where is it in me? Where is it in this moment? Where is it in me and the other? How is it alive? How do I enliven it? How do I embolden it? How do I put it in all caps? Now, even when I make contact with it, right? How do I make that even more, live it more of a reality? So we get this, right? This makes sense to everybody. Okay. Then let's go to the book. It's not very long. It won't take us much time, but I think there's some lovely languaging in this chapter, besides that beautiful poem-like thing that Sharon wrote on the next year in Jerusalem. And we're going to use every breath, this breath. And next breath. For some reason, it never likes to pull this up. So hang on, just one area. There is more at the end of the book. Just know there is some beautiful explanations of some of the traditional Buddhist maps, I think I'll call them. And I'm going to go over to chapter 9. Here we go. And then I'm going to put this up on the screen for everybody here. For you here. So hopefully everyone can see it now. Does that look workable? Victor, shake if you can see it, because I'm looking at you. Yep. Okay, gotcha. So this is chapter 9. This is our last official chapter. And then we'll be going on to something else I'll talk about near the end. But this is Aspiration. She talks about the Seder, Saturday night Seder ceremony. And she talks about the word Jerusalem and what it really represents. A symbol of escape from narrow straits. Isn't that lovely? A symbol of escape from narrow straits. What I love about that is it really describes our neural circuitry. Narrow straits, deep ruts, tiny paths, incomplete, insufficient. You're not getting there from here, folks, is how that's understood. Freedom from confinement due to what? Habit. From habit, due to not questioning the prevailing story, not looking with wisdom, clear seeing. Is it just because it's easy to buy into this, or is it because it's true? And what evidence in this presence do I have for the reality of this, right? We need courage and imagination to take that first step in the dark to find a new way to live. The fuel for that is aspiration. And aspiration, I'm going to add, is the light. Right there in the next moment, unknown, don't know, nothing. I got nothing but the aspiration of this one to bring. And that is the light itself, awareness itself, presence itself, love itself, isn't it? That's what you're bringing. You've already said it. You've set the table already. And this is a deep understanding, by the way, in the science as well. We call it conditionality. Conditionality, that you will be led by exactly what you've done just now and the next moment will arise in accord with it. So if you're hateful in this moment, guess what you probably have right here? The same. It doesn't mean the good news is, even in that habit, that we cannot wake up to go, this hurts, this doesn't work very well, certainly doesn't feel very good. And that itself changes the path, doesn't it? That wisdom that Robin's talking about, and the aspiration to see clearly. That's the path. To see clearly, that's the aspiration. And then it becomes one, doesn't it? The aspiration and the path, whoop, are now one. There's nothing separate. There's not the aspiration over here, the path over there, right this moment. They are merged and united. They are one. And I love that. She uses the term fragmented. And I liked the idea. It came to me that the oneness, that aspiration and path and practice all become one, is the opposite of that fragmentation, of that being twirled about, of being lost. We could use all those words. Then on page 166, I think it says down here at the bottom, aspiration captures that something, and aspiration powers the journey to making that something real, alive, enlivened, human, living it more fully. Aspiration is the engine and the fuel to the next moment. Aspiration takes us from a more abstract, disconnected, distant, or conceptual, we could say, appreciation of a vision, a dream, a wish, to stepping right into it. I love that. Right now. How is it living right now? How is love alive in you right now? Not next moment, not next week, not next year. That's the nature of an aspiration. It is enlivened, embodied, every breath, this breath, right? And so you can stop and reflect. In fact, every breath we just practice. Every breath you have an opportunity to rest and see, how is it alive right now? How is it living? And then on page 167, the paragraph here says, those adjustments, which adjustments, changes, I guess we could say, those adjustments are not going to define our deepest sense of what our lives are about. This is circumstance, right?
Yeah.
This is conditionality. It does not determine you. This is the beauty of this life. It doesn't make it easy either. I don't even mean to imply that. And it is not you. The conditions are not you. And present. Right? That's also true. There they are. They're not nothing. So we don't have to try to pretend like that's not true. You're sick, you're sick. It doesn't feel good. We don't have to try to go, well, I'm not my conditions. So, right, it does. No, that's diluted. Right. So our deepest sense of what our lives are about right now, this breath, fulfilling them might be nice or therapeutic, but not fulfilling them won't make it any less possible to have a fully lived, deeply connected life. But not fulfilling them. I think what she means there is what? Not getting exactly your vision the way you thought, doesn't it? It doesn't mean that you give up the aspiration. It doesn't mean you quit. It doesn't mean you go, well, it's not going to go my way, so I'm not. It means you may never get it the way you wanted. I'm getting pretty clear about that, about now in this life myself. I don't know if I'm going to ever quite get to the place that I saw as my aspiration for being as loving, as kind, as present as I could. And I'm not giving it up either. I'm not giving it up. I'm going to keep doing it till the last breath, because I know that this breath I can be more wholehearted. I can be awakened more. I can do it more. This one, I can. And am I ever going to reach nirvana, a state of enlightenment? These are not even hopes for me, by the way. That's not even my aspiration. As many as I can get together, that's my aspiration. And can I do just this one? That's my aspiration. See, you don't have to go out there to all of lifetimes for the uncalculable eons, is one of Shanti Deva's. You don't have to get out there. You can just say this one. And this one. Kindness now, love now. Couldn't you? And where would it get you? Everywhere. Every breath. Just this one. Right? How fabulous is that? And that's where our real work is, right? We all have aspirations and they're important. Remember the compass, the thread, the path. We need it. But how do you live it? Bang. Right here. This one. And when we remember that, it all becomes very, very workable, by the way, very, very workable. Even when we recognize, which I spend more of my time doing, recognizing that I'm not doing it. Feeds wisdom, aspires to greater effort, right? More. Can I do this now? Yes, I can. I just saw it. I saw all the conditions for it not arising. What can I do? Recognize, know. And then with understanding and insight, right? Next moment, new feast, new possibility, and we live it there as well. So it's never hopeless. It's never done. It's never quit, is it? It's just now. And then just now. And that's the aspiration we're all going to, with that word or set of words. Aspiration, it says on 168, is not the same as a bucket list. It's not goals. It's not getting to Nepal. It's not sitting on the mountain. No, it isn't. That compilation of sparkling possibilities we'd like to have in our lifetime, people mistake that as aspirations and say it, don't they? I have the aspiration to get to Africa and be in a safari. That's not the aspirations that we're talking about from the spiritual life. We're talking about the aspirations of our inner landscape. The inner landscape, not which continent you're going to be on, but no matter what continent you're on, what you're going to bring, how you're going to be, how you're going to live, right? And then it's not as small as a safari in Africa, is it? No. Now it's every continent, every experience ever. And how do we live that just this one breath? It says here, then, these two might be rewarding or exciting. They aren't necessarily core to our vision of what's truly meaningful in life, but we can bring meaning, can't we, then, to every moment? The boring ones, the mundane, it doesn't. Now, the conditions aren't the point. You have enlightened the moment with you, whatever it is. So if it's boring, maybe that's something about you. Because, right, full, infinite possibility, this one, for love, for peace, for ease, for joy, for equanimity. So what are you doing that it's boring? You went to sleep is what you did. Didn't you? And you went, life is supposed to give it to me, not me be it in life. I'm supposed to get it. My son is confronting that now at 31 years old. He said, I was wanting my friends to come get me. I'm disappointed and sad and feel left out. And I said, you might want to choose to go be friendly. That might be the path, Tanner. Instead of waiting for friendship to find you, you might live it. And then see what happens. And he went, oh, well, wait a minute. That did not occur to me. And you might not be so sad if you're living friendly, right? And then you won't be disappointed. And that's not possible, by the way. And you'll stop looking to life to give you something you have not yet brought to it. Isn't that interesting? And aren't we all learning that? Aspiration is bigger than realizing a goal, a hope, a dream, or vanquishing fears around it. So this is not the Tony Robbins model. This is not the Tony Robbins model called, if you can imagine yourself a millionaire, so shall you be it. I'm not saying it is or isn't true, by the way. I'm saying that's not the point. What we accomplish out there is only from what we have committed and lived in here. Well, Tony Robbins says so too, doesn't he? He says the same. He says, if you want to be a millionaire, you better be already feel like, be like, act like a millionaire. Just like I said to Tanner, if you want friends, I think maybe the thing you need to do is be a friend. Right? It's the same thing. Aspiration is an active presence in our lives every day that we recall, reflect on, and work with. That's the work every day. I call out 3 every single day before I get out of bed. Love is always the first on my list. 169, what did become more vibrant and alive for me while we were getting through a situation I would never have chosen was resolving to be kinder. Wouldn't be so bad. If you couldn't think of anything, folks, if you're going, no words come into mind, use that one. Use that one. It's good enough, isn't it? It's good enough, or more than good enough. On 170, we're almost done here. As I get older, I realize that the thing I value the most is good-heartedness. That's that kindness, that peace, that ease we're bringing and are committing to bringing every day. To explore good-heartedness as the thread of meaning in one's life means examining if we can be strong and still be kind, be smart and still be generous, be assertive, and yet be loving. Can you give voice to your deepest aspiration? And what is it? What is it? And how does it arise for you? She talks again about the Seder. She then ends with that beautiful poem that I had read you, as well as the aspiration that we will read at the end today. And so what do you know and not yet know about aspirations? What do you know and not yet know? And if you're not calling it to mind every day, I will tell you there is no hope for it. I know I forget to. If you do not call it to mind, this is its placement. First thing, we know we are setting the mind, those first 3 breaths. If you are not calling it to mind, there is no hope for it. Now it's accidental. Now it's, oops, I just remembered slightly, or that would have been a good idea. But it cannot be lived. And that's its nature. The Eightfold Path says it so. If you did not set mind with right view, right thought, and right intention, there is no hope. Doesn't mean you can't wake up the next moment, but its possibilities are dramatically limited. You might have remembered at that moment, but you cannot thread the moments if you don't begin with the thread, can you? Right? You can't start a hem in the middle. It doesn't mean it doesn't count for something, but it isn't a seam, is it? And we use this aspiration as seamless, don't we? Beginning, middle, and end. We're bringing it everywhere. And if you call it to mind at lunch, does it still count for something? Well, I'm going to tell you it does. But now you've got a few sutures in the middle of that seam, and the chance of it holding is lessened. If you can start it at the beginning, the chance of its being whole has vastly improved. And so we catch it where we can. We begin now because it's ever again and again. And we already have evidence. If you waited till lunch, or if you waited till dinner, or if you waited till somebody was kind to you first, like my son, you might spend a lot of time without it. Right? A lot of time without it. And then there's no way without it if you aspired it. Is there? Now there's no way, right? I say to Tanner, for there not to be friendship if it's you. Is it true? Yes, it is. Do we remember? Not mostly, but now we could do it now, right? There's no way for there not to be love if it's you. Isn't it true? You, the one drop of dye in the 8 billion celled organism called world. How about it? I'll sign up. And then you sign up too, right? You sign up too. And then we'll keep doing it together, and we'll notice, whoops, but then I wake up, I can do it now. Where is love now? Where is peace now? Where is the end of all conflict, the end of all addiction, and the end of all suffering now? Right? And it is you. And the Buddha said so. He said, I would not ask this of you if you were not capable of it. And I would not teach it. Because what would be the point of that? Right? I would not teach it. Why? Because it is possible, one breath at a time, isn't it? Let me hear from y'all. I'm gonna, we'll wait a few minutes, and then I'm gonna let you all know that I'm gonna go into retreat starting tomorrow. That's Wednesday. The newsletter will come out either tomorrow morning or tonight, depending on where my son is with the QR code for the t-shirts. We got to get it up there too. And it will say how to get to Quest Haven, the times that you can get there each day, starting on tomorrow, Thursday, and going through, oh, tomorrow's Wednesday. No, let me take that back. Starting Thursday, I will be just getting there and setting up tomorrow. And then we'll talk a little more about that. But for now, anything about aspirations you know that you need to know for you? Find your word, write it, reflect on it, call it to mind every day. Call it to mind at the beginning of every day and see how it lives. Seemed like a good plan, right?
Ty,
Yes.
can pausing be part of an aspiration, or even an aspiration? Like, I have a tendency to just blurt stuff out.
I
Would
would say
that-
pausing is a path to an aspiration. You
Okay.
would need we all need pause, presence. These are certainly the ingredients for the aspiration, but the aspiration isn't an act. It's beyond conditions.
Okay.
It holds it all. So I may choose to pause, choose to focus on my breath, choose to recollect my word. These would all be paths. But the aspiration usually is a quality that is livable, achievable, doable every moment. Every moment. And so it might be something, if you were thinking of pause as a manifestation of your aspiration might be something like open presence, something that says, may I just arrive fully, completely in every moment. And you're going to use the pause
To
as
get there.
the path. Mhm. And we all need the pause.
Don't
We all need,
we?
yeah, we all need the pause. But I would not make that the aspiration. It would be something that would include one's whole heart mind. So to pause to get to what? The pause would nurture something, and that's likely something of your aspiration. Peace, ease, love, kindness, wisdom, like we said, joy. These are typically aspirations. The Bodhisattva aspiration is to end all suffering for all beings. Not so small. Right, to end all suffering for all beings throughout all time, by the way, is the whole vow. Omitting none, that's the vow. I have to repeat it every day, and of course still forget, and sometimes don't know. Even when I have the aspiration in hand, I arrive into a set of conditions. I'm like, I don't know how to live that. I'm not too sure how to pull that thing off here. And so I can flounder or I can fail and still learn, right? Like, I don't know how to surf this. I'm just off the board. But at least the aspiration is going to get me back on the board. It's going to get me on the board the next wave, right? That's the aspiration. It's the energy, the thing that goes. It doesn't mean you surfed it well. It just means you care. 2 minutes. My son is here to say hello to me before I go to retreat. He just came to
Aw.
back patio and scared us all. A burglar. So
Can
we
I
get
just make a quick message here on
yes.
St. Andrews just before we all leave here? Because we have, our food delivery to St. Andrews is going to be tomorrow. So if you can get your deliveries over to Carrie's house by this evening, that'd be great.
That is great. We got a few dollars from some folks. Thank you very much. I think are somewhat distracted and focused on summer and changing schedules and all of that. We will do this again then, I think, Greg, in September. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, we'll do it again in September. So we did not have as committed and generous a showing as we typically do, but it all counts and it all matters. And so we will still bring those food items over, but I would like us to make a little larger commitment given summer, and I know it's distractions and busyness for September for sure. All right, so thank you all. All right, why don't we sit for a moment? We're going to read the aspiration from the book and the blessing, and then off we go. So everyone look for the newsletter today or tomorrow on how to join me at Quest Haven. And we have, I think, Greg, wasn't this Saturday you were going to be able to do it?
Yes.
Yeah, Greg on Zoom only this Saturday. And Robin, we're checking on next Tuesday, right? Thank you so much for that.
I think I can Zoom even without cables, or without internet connection.
You can,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I can do it
Yeah, you can.
on Tuesday. Yeah.
Great.
Sure.
So then we'll have Robin on Tuesday as well, and we'll keep working on that. Thank you all so much. So coming back into this breath, this moment. feeling into the aliveness of the body and recollecting your aspiration. Calling it to mind, breathing it right into the heart, letting it transmute into the whole of the body. Arriving. May we continue this journey towards freedom together. Every breath, this one breath. May our actions redound to the welfare and happiness of all beings. This is consistent with that vow. May it be alive and present and incarnated by us every breath. May wisdom and compassion grow. May it flourish and never diminish. May peace be born anew every breath, this breath, and always prevail. May we all be happy, safe, free, and well. And may this practice, this very day, alive, this very breath, may it continue. Thank you all so much. I hope that you'll get the chance to join me in retreat. I would love to see you all, though I will not be talking. As you know, your presence is deeply felt and very much appreciated. Thank you so much for that. And Leslie, good to see you.
I'm wishing you a highly satisfactory
It will be.
retreat.
It will be. There is no other way. That's not possible. Thank you all so much. Hope to see you at Quest Haven. Looking forward to that. And we'll be back with you all on Tuesday then. I think that's something like the 25th of July. July 25th. I'll look forward to being with you all live on Zoom again. All right, everyone. Mwah. May we live these intentions wholeheartedly, calling them to mind every day. Thank you all so much for your practice.